Welcome to ClipNotes.
The movie!
Cloak and Dagger.
The plot!
Troubled young gamer and his imaginary friend are swept up in a tale of espionage and murder, just like the adventures they always dreamed of.
The characters!
Davy Osborne, a charming tween with an overactive imagination and possibly deep-seated psychiatric issues. Jack Flack, Davy's imaginary super spy friend. Kim Gardner, an incredibly mature 9-year-old and Davy's closest neighbor. 1984 was a fantastic year for iconic films. You got the Ghostbusters, you got Gremlins, you got Terminator, 16 Candles, Purple Rain, and 1984, and the creation of the PG-13 rating, which came months too late for this movie full of violence, but shares a rating with the never-ending story. It was based on a 1966 movie called The Boy Cried Murder. So yeah, it wasn't based on the video game, because until the producers talked to Atari about the film, the video game was called Agent X, and had nothing to do with the film. But who cares? This was a beloved film at the time, kinda. Its production quality doesn't rep the 80s too well, as it's clearly a sloppier shoot than the others I just named. But maybe thanks to E.T.'s Henry Thomas and the oh-so-delightful delivery of discount Drew Barrymore here, it managed to cement itself in the heads of many a home video renting youth. But why? I don't know, let's take a look. Exterior, nighttime, Russia. Are these guys bad? Well, they're Russian, aren't they? Jack Flack comes barreling down on a high-speed landing with an American flag as a parachute and proceeds to steal a suitcase, and using his bulletproof beret, deflects this woman's bullet right back into her cleavage. So a couple of D12s come flying at him, and psych, this is just a board game Davy is playing with Kim and their middle-aged nerd guardian, Morris. Nobody wants to play with Davy anymore because his character, Jack Flack
always escapes. Jack Flack always escapes.
He always never doesn't escape or something. It quickly turns out that hanging with a middle-aged guy in the, what we hope is the back of his video game store, is just kind of boring. So Morris sends Davy and Kim on an errand to pick up catalogs and Twinkies. Davy wishes it was some more serious Cloak and Dagger type stuff, but I have a feeling that he better be careful what he 80s movie plot. And the previous 6 minutes just serve as a video game splash screen when the kids leave and Morris hits the start button. By the time they get off the bus, you just get the idea that neither of these kids are people you'd ever want to hang out with. He's either snapping at her for not taking the game serious, or she's bitching because she thinks he's embarrassing. If she only knew the importance of what's about to take place. Well, Davy sure can't appreciate the import of the mission as he darts around this privately owned business complex with a loaded water gun. This guard's just so unreasonably understanding about it, acting as if kids are just harmless, toy-wielding morons. Then Davy narrowly saves Kim from getting on an elevator with an armed man, and moments later, once they've split up, Davy overhears some villainous chatter on his gigantic walkie-talkie. His friend doesn't understand, but it's okay, because a vivid hallucination of Jack Flack appears before Davy to briefly advise him, while bombasting himself.
Back when I was known as Agent X.
Nice reference. Holy crap, that man has no reflection. Now, I seriously doubt that Davy is openly hallucinating, right? I mean, he's just thinking about Jack Flack. So he's got an imaginary friend who, to the viewer, is real enough. I kind of like it. It's cute. Oh, look, there's some mirrored windows across the way. Davy can see himself. And you can see someone being beaten and shot to death. Well, whatever. It wasn't that graphic or scary, so... Oh, it's the murder victim. Bleeding to death. He gives Davy a Cloak and Dagger game cartridge while spouting a bunch of muddled words, and oh my god. The poor bastard falls horrifically down the stairwell, and Davy goes right to the guards to ask for help. But the body is all cleaned up by the time they get there, and no one believes him, and Jack Flack comes back, and now Davy is just staring at nothing, listening intently. I am worried for the boy's sanity now, especially with Jack insisting they trust no one. Honestly, he might have just officially cracked like 5 seconds ago. Next up, the cops bring Davy home to his dad, who is the spitting image of Jack Flack, and also an actual military man. And we learn that Davy's mom is recently deceased. Bummer. Anyway, Davy gets right back to playing murder games, and yeah, I can't say it occurred to me before, but after his dad mentions Davy's shrink and asserts that Jack is make-believe, yep, Davy is a disturbed individual. But he wants to prove he saw this man murdered for his Cloak and Dagger cartridge, so he pops it into the Atari, and yep, just a video game, so far. After sternly stating that someone was killed for the information on this game cartridge, Davy just gets back to murder games and is having a grand time of it. Oh my lord, he's really starting to scare me. And his dad still doesn't believe him, which leads to lectures and fighting, and the bad guys harass Davy with a quick phone call, and the next day, Davy hits up Kim for a rendezvous, but her mom says they're busy living inside a cereal commercial.
Mom said kicks forward, kicks has no.
Oh no! Bad guys rush into Davy's house, yep, in the sweats. This dude just showed up to his villain job this morning, like, oh come on Charles, we have to intimidate and kill today. Couldn't you wear a suit? And he's just like, what if I have to walk straight through a glass door today? I need free movement and comfort. Whatever, he's just the muscle. Davy escapes and makes it to the mall where the lighting crew just didn't want to show up to film that day, and Jack says it's time for an outside expertise. So it's off to see Morris, and when Davy gives him the Cloak and Dagger,
It's like a Cloak and Dagger tape.
Tape? Well, Morris opens that bad boy up and it has some serious spy tech inside. I mean, look at those connections.
Look at those connections.
I know!
know, right?
Kim calls Davy on the walkie just in time to be kidnapped by the bad guys. And these guys, they don't just want their tape back, they want to mess with this kid. They threaten to literally break Kim in half.
We'll break your little friend in half.
Damn, son. Jack then immediately convinces Davy to steal a Cloak and Dagger tape to make a ringer for the sensitive info. What's quickly becoming the sad thing about their relationship is Davy argues with Jack constantly. And Jack's like, nah, screw it, trust no one, steal things, skip school, do drugs! Right away, Davy makes his way to a big garden where this tired bad guy makes the trade for the game, setting free Kim, who was apparently sedated for the whole ordeal.
Boy, am I glad to see you.
Being kidnapped and threatened, it is so boring. But they don't want the kids talking and quickly realize the game is a decoy because apparently Morris opens brand new games and puts his store's sticker on them.
Oh, real cool, dude.
Sweats and his little buddy in the jacket chase the kids to the bus. Kim and Davy make up because she understands and she feels safe. But she has no idea how much danger she's in now, being alone with this budding psychopath. Anyway, bad guys close in and Davy feigns illness to escape the bus. Meanwhile, Morris is still playing the game at his store and stumbles upon
Holy shit!
the cartridge, game. The game has all these blueprints for the X-Jet or some top secret bomber. And damn. Tired guy kills Morris. Sweats and Jacket follow Davy to a boat as Jack advised him to stick close to crowds to remain safe. And these two kindly old people float right into the frame and help Davy escape this Jacket guy who fails to stab the child to death on a tour boat. Davy gets back to the gamekeeper store where Kim has lost all manner of professionalism, just crying like a soggy potato because Morris is missing and someone shot his computer. Davy decides that Rice must be stopped, which begs the question, who the hell is Rice? Oh, it's Tired Guy. And when did Davy get his name? Well, I guess he got it from the script. Okay, Rice, a bad guy. Davy tracks down Rice all on his own and finds Morris's body in the trunk of his car. Actually, I hate this guy now. He's got Davy walking into heavy traffic and now he convinces him to hop into a trunk with a dead body. Bad guys arrive at the Alamo and seriously, Jack, they got the tape back. Let Davy go home, please. Davy overhears Rice mention their buyer is some guy who is missing a couple of fingers from his right hand, and that's literally all Rice knows. I guess the spy phone call went something like, leave the camera case in the Alamo right before closing time. You will be paid in non-traceable bonds through a Swiss bank. I'm missing 2 fingers. Okay. Anyway, Davy tries to intercept the swap and is rescued again by these kindly old people. Kindly but creepy. Well, the old people believe Davy and they help him retrieve the game.
Cloak and Dagger tape.
The video game.
Cloak and Dagger tape.
Fine, they help him get the tape. And just when Davy becomes comfortable enough to share all he knows, the old lady pulls off her glove and... oh no. Oh no.
Oh no! This is some kind of nightmare! Wake up, Davy!
This movie has its issues, but shooting this whole thing from the POV of a little kid not only evokes exactly how Davy is feeling here, it also shows exactly what it feels like anytime a kid had to be sandwiched between 2 creepy old people in the bench seat of a sedan. Well, George here, an old lady monster nightmare, chloroformed the kid so that they can hand him off to Rice for the official murdering. But not until after they mention that they've got a flight at midnight out of town. At midnight. Next up, Sweats and Jacket have Davy faking sleep in their trunk and they are discussing the pros and cons of murdering him before or after he wakes up from his chloroform coma. They leave him alone for mere seconds and he's able to call Kim, and upon their return hears that Rice has planted a bomb in Kim's home, which will go off in an hour. At midnight. And he did this just to prove to Davy that he could. But not if Davy and Jack can help it. Bumpity-doo! Davy steals the car and drives it every bit as gracefully as you'd expect out of a 12-year-old. After crashing and calling Kim, it's indicated that the bomb is actually planted in her walkie-talkie, when the movie literally does a crossfade and iris close at the same time. Davy calls his dad and tells him everything, much to the dismay of Jack, who is getting increasingly on Davy's nerves. Sweats tries to run down Davy in a van and crashes into a store window. Not a great plan. Pretty sure that getting a kid stuck in your grill wouldn't have stopped you from dying? Yep, he did. Davy refuses Jack's advice to grab the dead guy's gun, and to which Jack replies, Playwright! Playwright?
Playwright.
Oh, playwright! Which mirrors exactly what Davy said to Kim when she wouldn't take his game seriously. Could this movie have depth? Well, 36 minutes to midnight, Jack's just sipping tea and smugging all smiley at Davy. What's with you, dude? Now the bad guys get out the heavy artillery. Honestly, if you need this to kill a 12-year-old, it's not time for the heavy artillery, it's time for a new career. Maybe in childcare, because no child is ever going to be harmed while these guys are in charge. Davy attempts to pull some move called the Crossfire Gambit to make the baddies shoot each other, but okay. I was sketched out when you tossed a dying man limply down a stairwell, and you took it up a notch with salad fingers choking the little boy. But now I'm actually watching a rat breathe its last breath. Well, the Crossfire Gambit works, Jacket goes down, Davy grabs his gun and runs off into a dead end.
Oh no!
Rice then approaches in his villainous members-only jacket, and since he thinks Davy's just got a water gun, he makes with a villain monologue, but not divulging his master plan because he doesn't have one. No, he describes in full every awful thing he's going to do to Davy before allowing him to die. Slowly bleed out the kid by stomach wound? Yep. Ignoring his pleas for the merciful release of death? Yeah. And blow off his kneecaps with a gun that could turn him into shredded meat in 3 seconds? Just a second, I gotta check on all the scars this movie left me with. Well, that was just like an anatomy lesson and a gun lesson all wrapped up in one. So the kid refuses to shoot the bad guy, but Jack Flack tries to draw the fire to his bulletproof beret, causing Davy to yell at nothing, and hey, it works! Rice opens fire on nothing. I guess he thought that Davy was possibly talking to a real witness, but he shot into the best lit spot in the whole harbor. And why is Jack translucent? Did he suddenly constitute right there in front of the bad guy? Well, he done goofed either way, because now Davy's pissed. Davy shoots Rice in a temporary rage over his imagined friend's death, then goes into a sort of walking coma and smashes his Jack Flack minifig, which directly leads to Jack's invincibility waning, and he bleeds out right through several holes because Davy doesn't believe in him anymore. I mean, he says he doesn't believe anymore, but he's still talking to his imaginary friend. And Jack is also pointing out that the dad said the same thing when he stopped playing games. Wait, is he like a puka or something? I was pretty sure this guy didn't exist at all, but now he's some mystical creature who used to be his dad's imaginary friend, and he acts like this is less of a metaphor and more like a rule that imaginary friends have to follow. But either way, the symbolism here is as clear as it was when Davy dropped the baseball to accept the mission. And then Jack shares his final words of child endangerment by asking Davy to get him some cigarettes. Then he fades away. And not to make you feel bad, Davy, but that's 2 people you've killed in less than 5 minutes. Okay, we got 15 minutes on the clock. Fortunately for the characters, they travel at the speed of thought from scene to scene, which begins when Davy's dad calls the cops. Davy can't get a ride on the bus. Even Louis Anderson won't give him a ride. And this concerned zombie is just acting up a storm.
What happened to your leg?
Shrug.
Look, maybe we better get you to a hospital. That leg doesn't look too good.
Oh, well, if there is a bomb, then we better get you to saving the day. Get in my car, kid. Shrug. Meanwhile, at the airport, Kim tries to warn security about the old folks getting on the plane and teaches us some valuable information.
A Cloak and Dagger tape. You know, a game cartridge.
Davy arrives, finds the old folks, and runs into Kim and crap. Grandma and Grandpa Nightmare here take Davy hostage just as he grabs the bomb from Kim's backpack. Dear Lord, they just shot a man and boarded the plane. Airport security procedures really were more relaxed in those days. Then the parents just show up in time for Davy to be taken hostage. And after everyone who works on the runway comes in one at a time with more news.
We've got 3 minutes.
Thanks, pilot guy.
Go sheet. I think he's flipping out.
Thanks, glow stick dude. I'm just waiting for the baggage handler to come in and give us the next update. Oh, hell, Davy's dad heads out to the airplane posing as a pilot because he is a pilot. Meanwhile, Davy tries to disarm the bomb, but all he can do is scare the clock for a second.
Oh no, you cut my cord. Just kidding. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
Davy's regretting murdering his best friend now. But anyway, Davy's dad takes control of the plane with a gun to his head, and then the movie just gets golden from here, detailing just how massively competent these 2 elderly terrorists are. First, you got the
Bomb goes off in less than a minute.
and she just yells at him like a kid who won't pause the Nintendo game, and then, a what? A bomb? Dad starts up the plane full throttle, and then the old dude's just like, I can disarm the bomb. Ah, screw it, it's too hard, can't do it. Well, 15 seconds left, and Davy gets dropped out the plane into another beautifully lit scene. Like, look at that. Are they in space? I don't know, is he flying? Whatever, not the time. And Davy chases the plane until shabba-ba-boom! Up it goes in flames a whole lot. But it's okay, because Jack Flack emerges from the wreckage, and we get some first-rate slow-motion fire. Click, click, click. Beautiful. But that's not Jack Flack. It's his dad, because he doesn't need Jack Flack anymore. Too much flack, not enough Jack. And you know, with those old people in that burning inferno of wreckage, that's 3 confirmed kills on Davy's record. He'll make a fine government agent someday. Unless, of course, they do psych evaluations, in which case he'll make a decent police officer. The end! Okay, then. I used to think I was confused as a child watching this movie, but I'm more confused now. Jack's death scene brings all sort of existential things into question. Was he a spirit who plays with different children? Was he just in Davy's imagination? I suppose he could still be the latter and just say those things when he died. It's possible blurring that line was intentional so we can see how Davy was actually genuinely confused on that point. Maybe he was a real magical creature? But with all evidence to the contrary, it makes more sense that Davy was just imagining him. So let's go with that and think about what this kids movie says to kids. Like I said, this was the year that PG-13 was invented by Steven Spielberg to keep parents from roiding out over his child-slaving, voodoo, heart-ripping family film, The Temple of Doom. But these kids ain't 13, and this movie ain't that bad. Yes, it scares kids, but the truth is, it doesn't traumatize them, and it doesn't lie to them. Guns are dangerous, strangers shouldn't be trusted, actions have consequences, and this captures that feeling from a kid's point of view pretty well. The dad's anti-game talk is quite a put-down, but with Davy traumatized by his mother's death, this does make him a handful, and he will have to deal with reality someday. But this is his way of coping, so the kid deserves a pass, and game and kinda deserves some appreciation. Then in his relationship with Jack, it's actually a pretty accurate portrayal of mental illness. Davey needs Jack, but argues with him and never wants to do what Jack says. So like Kim doesn't want to play because it's embarrassing, but Davey doesn't want to play because he's being faced with constant reminders, as with his mom, that death is permanent and this is not a game. So Jack starts out seeming like a hero and a pal, even looking like Davey's dad, which is actually something Matt Groening did with Bart's heroes on The Simpsons. But Jack quickly dissolves into the main villain. He gets this kid involved in theft, espionage, murder, and tries to drive a wedge between him and his father. The old folks, bad guys, they're all vague characters, but Jack is a proper antagonist, completely fleshed out. The baddies died and that helped Davey understand life better, but Jack had to die before Davey could move on. All of that and the director pushing the genre between kids flick and horror film is what made this movie cleave permanently into the minds of children, despite the production value. It's like a modern Hitchcockian thriller with a childish story. It might be violent, but so are little kids' games, and so is baby lion playtime, because this is how we learn to protect and survive. As long as the lesson isn't pro-bad guy, and the game is about good fighting evil, then kids are learning exactly what they need to. But seriously, whoever wrote this movie hates children, I am sure of that. Well, thanks for watching ClipNotes summary of Cloak and Dagger. This was just one of those barely popular films that I loved and no one else I knew had seen. What are some of the little-known movies you loved growing up and you just can't help but tell people about? Leave it in the comment below and maybe we'll talk about it on here. And in the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe to Jabberwock.